As many of you know who have watched my film Last Flag Standing, I spoke many times about the court-martialing of George-Walker-Coleman-Bush in Corporation Case RR 385-460-312 US. And in that closure of that court-martialing, the last commands that I gave him as he was leaving office in 2008 is that there were to be no more presidential elections unless I'm in it and I win it, because I'm the guy with the flag, I'm the guy with the continuance of the evidence, and I'm Chief Judge of the United States, as well as Postmaster General and Treasurer of this country, to help the citizens of our country come out of this financial chaos that they are in. So with that in mind, David, my ex-business partner, David-Wynn-Coleman-Miller, and myself sued the Federal Elections Commission in June of 2012. And we syntexed the forms for running for a U.S. Senator, the House of Representatives, a Vice President, as well as a President of the United States. What that means is we found grammar fraud in violation of Title 18, Section 1001 for fictitious grammar, and we were coming in as whistleblowers, and I will show the evidence on this film so you can all see. In that evidence, we gave closure to all elections commissions for all 50 states, the U.S. military, the world banking system, as well as the world postal system on a worldwide level. Some may ask why it was taken to such closure. Well, I could see, just as I could predict it in 1999, the problems with the presidential election. I now see the problems back then of what they would have in 2020. And I prepared myself, as well as the campaign. The campaign itself is called the Directors-Party, which is an original contractor for the people, the People's Party. And it's called the Directors-Party. I syntaxed the laws in all 50 states, and I will be showing the evidence of that for all elections commission. It was a copious task. It took several elections to go through all the mechanics of it. In 2016, we also had the Directors-Party campaign. It was a very small, unknown to the general public, although we did publish it in several seminars. David-Wynn-Coleman-Miller and myself, Russell-J. Coleman-Gold. And we gave closure on the style of syntax and the disqualification of the Federal Elections Commission, as well as all 50 states, as well as the Electoral College votes for the U.S. House and Senate. As many of you know, during the court-martialing of George-Walker-Coleman-Bush, I filed a contract through the House and Senate of the U.S. Congress, where I shut down the capacity of the U.S. Congress to function as a corporation. The House put their certified seals on the back page of each one of my contracts, and I'll be showing that evidence as well, simultaneously shutting down the House and Senate. So the House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate could no longer pass laws or have an authority or a position for the statement of a claim in any elections or pass any bills against the people of this great country. And that was filed, and I received a document back from the U.S. Government Printing Office as the legislator, and I will be presenting that as evidence as well. So, back to the Federal Elections Commission and the disqualification of the Federal Elections Commission. On December 31st of 2013, David-Wynn-Coleman-Miller and myself filed in documents with the Federal Elections Commission, again for the campaign of 2016, identifying the fictitious grammar as well as the fraudulent means, because there were no guidelines, again, to elect a president, because the United States Corporation ceased to exist in 1999 when they came out of their bankruptcy. Upon coming out of their bankruptcy, this is how they got away with fooling the Florida Chads over the American citizens, as well as put someone in office in 2008 who was not an American citizen, which was Barry Soetoro. Most of you know him as Barack Obama. And Barry Soetoro was not born in this country. You can go to look at his birth monuments in Kenya with his family. And this is why he didn't have to be a president the president did not have to be from this country because there were no guidelines to give enforcement on the position of a president, because there are no presidents. It's just a fraud upon a fraud upon a fraud, which they've covered up in many lies, spent millions and billions and trillions of dollars to deceive the American people as well as the world. So, 2020, the directors-party and the campaign for myself as the director-party will be seen in full display on the performances. Because of the great controversies that will be created in the 2020 presidential election, the forms and the guidelines, this will be going to the U.S. Supreme Court, where I am chief judge. As chief judge, I have the credentials and foothold because I've pierced the corporate veil in the tails of the estates for the bills of the ladings with all 50 states. What that means is, and I know that's pretty complex for most, what that means in a brief summary is that all 50 states, as well as all territories, Guam, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands, as well as the Marshall Islands, were given closure that the presidential elections were fake, that the rules that they used to enforce their concepts of voting again on the people, those were all fraudulently conveyed under fictitious grammar. And all 50 states and territories were given notice, as well as the treasury systems of the world and the postal systems of the world. Some may ask, why would you, Russell-J. Gold, Postmaster General, why would you alert the postal systems? Why would you do that over a presidential election? Because I was looking at a larger picture to safeguard the soils and to keep the foreign troops out of our country. The reason why I did that is I alerted the United Nations that the presidential elections were fraud. But because I maintain the continuity of the government, it is my job to make sure that no troops and no foreign countries invade us during this time of which will look like great chaos to the American people. Because I am the commander-in-chief, I'm now giving public closure to the military of the world, as well as the U.S. Marines, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard, and Army, that I am coming forth in the 2020 elections as a neutral function to make sure that the security, not only of our great lands and our financial system, but the security of our people is left intact. That no foreign troops are authorized to transport their vessels into our great land, and simultaneously, the militaries of the world, as well as the militaries of this great country, will be giving me the safeguard that's necessary, and anyone that gets in my face, you will deal with directly in a commander-in-chief's-will. Corporation case RR 385-460-312 US : mankind-domain-performance. Those of you listening to this transmission will know what that means. The national security code is RR 294-568-221 US. I have cosmic and majestic security clearance codes here too, but I'm not going to give those on air. So, with that in mind, I am now going to share the evidence and let you see, and then I'm going to come back, and then I'm going to have a conversation with you on what this means for the people, what this means for the government that doesn't exist, what this means for the court systems as they try to go to litigation and try to confuse the American people again in the 2020 elections. Thankfully, I am prepared to safeguard this country, safeguard the people, and safeguard correctness, because truth wins. This is the contract that was filed in 2016 by David and I, and each page will be JPEG so you guys can all see. This was the one I was talking about. There's David and mine's autograph down there, December 31st. And this is just the guidelines for running for a president, a Senate, or a House. These are the forms that you would have to fill out, and they've been syntaxed for fraudulent grammar, statement of candidacies through the Federal Elections Commission. These are letters coming back from the Federal Elections Commission, and got all kinds of things in here. These are the mailings that were given to all 50 states, starting with the Federal Elections Commission, of course, up here, the D.C. Board of Elections and Ethics, and then the different states and the elections commissions, postal, military. It's all 50 states and territorial locations for location, and this is the massive size of the bill of lading for proof of carriage for services that the goods were transported from point A to point B.
One of the questions that we're getting for you is that just because these are certified mail receipts, does that mean that they have corresponded with you, and
yes.
how so?
Yes. Well, some of the mailings, we'll get into that, coming back from some of the states. I didn't bring all because I have them staked out all over the place. But when you come over here, you can kind of see the different states that corresponded back with me, and like New Mexico. This is New Mexico here. This is Arkansas. This is...
Okay, so this is from the Secretary of State.
Yeah.
These addresses are defunct now, so we're not worried about displaying them.
No.
And so why, when we are, I think the bigger question is, just because you have had correspondence with them or they've mailed you something back, does that make it, fact?
Well, because they have knowledge, and under Title 42, 1986, when you have knowledge of a fraud and something wrong, as a public servant, it is your duty to stop and correct. Governments exist because we the people allow. We the people direct the government as our public servants. I'm a public servicer myself. I comply with the will of the people, and I see the pain and the chaos that is going to come. It was my job to create a safety net with the quantum banking system and the quantum postal system to make sure that the continuity of government was maintained during times of chaos, as well as simultaneously bringing solutions for the people, not complaints, not anarchy, not chaos, controlled closure so the people have the facts. Once the people have the facts, we can now take accountability for our lives, be autonomous in our thinking, downsize and downgrade the massive scope of the government, as well as simultaneously give the people the freedom that they so deserve. We're tired of the pantomime game of the mass. We're tired of the pantomime game of control. This is not about control. You're not going to scare some of us. Some of the people are scared, and I see their fears. Some don't know what to do, and they're upset. I feel that pain as well. And as they learn about the grammar and learn about what I've done to safeguard all of them, before anybody throws stones, we need to start taking a serious look at the grammar, which brings accountability in a now-space scenario. So these are some of the documents, and there were more states. I just happened to have a couple of them on the road.
Can you explain this one here from the Federal Election Commission?
Yes, the Federal Elections Commission does not have authorization to exist because the Federal Elections Commission gets its authorization from the United States Postal Service. The United States Postal Service lost its authorization to exist in 1999 when they came out of bankruptcy. And that would be when they joined with me through the bill of lading for fee for freight, and I never broke the continuance of the evidence. This is what why the federal judicial system beat me up so bad, is so that I would not be here today as the last flag standing to stand in the way and say enough is enough. I have the courage. I am who I say. And I'm very serious when I come through the door. Make no wrong about that. When I come through the door, the honor that you will surrender because of the correctness. It's not about you. It's not about your silly little bank accounts. It's about the people. The people are here. I hear their voices. I hear them crying. I hear them upset. I see the fear and the chaos and all the blurred lines. Each lives matter. That's just the way it is. We are all here together. So as we learn how to communicate, we will be accountable for that which we do. So the quantum grammar world brings accountability towards the contract. And as it cleans up the contract, we can now take a look at the condition of volition on why all these things were done. Why did I do all this? I did all this because I saw the pain that was going to come at a later date. Because I predicted in 1999 that they would not elect a president in 2000. And I'm predicting that they can't do it now because I'm the postmaster-general. I'm the guy in charge of the bills of the lading. So you have a fake president authorizing a fake postmaster general. You have a fake candidate running for whatever they're running for. And you've got a fake court that they're all going to go into, which I already control. So the day will come when the people will get to see firsthand that not only have I done everything I said, and much, much more, thankfully. That's the good news for the world. The bad news for the bad guys who are trying to hide this is because we are now piercing the corporate media, you're not going to be able to hide from me much longer. Which is great news for the people. But for those of you whose condition of volition has been evil towards society, think that you've created a monopoly board of nothingness, think you're going to scare us with your fake FEMA camps and all the forced vaccines, and you're going to try to come in and take our guns, that's not happening. If you look back at the history of this planet, when you disarm a people, generally tyranny falls behind that, and people are killed. People are starved down. People lose their property. People lose their rights. That's not going to happen in this country. The American people will stand solid together. We will show the world that we can learn how to communicate, not only between race, but culture, because we are a land of many cultures. But we are no longer going to terraform the world, which means that in other parts of the world, we're going to build utopias, not drop bombs. The day of the war is over. I'm here because I'm the commander-in-chief of all militaries on the planet. By contract and by the performances. And those of you in the military on the upper end know who I am. You know the history of where I've been. And you know that I'm not clowning, not even for a second. The world needs a leader. The world needs courage. The world needs morals and values. And to be such a stranglehold on the difference between right and wrong, and morals and ethics and humbleness and righteousness and fairness, kindness. This is what a leader is made of. It's not made of standing up there and being able to swing a golf club. That's not what the people need. People need a hardworking person that does the correct thing when nobody's looking. In 1999, the United States government ceased to exist, which means that the authorization to contract or them to tender contracts such as birth certificates ended. So anybody with a birth certificate, if you're using that birth certificate for your day-to-day life, you're just not in a position to state a claim against anybody because you can't state, you have no foundation because the very foundation that you're on is no longer. You're in the pantomime of these fake presidents, and the courts are closed. It's martial life and law. So make no wrong about it. If somebody's trying to tell you to go to court, they're tricking you into going to a location that does not have authorization, only authorization to steal from you when you go in and say it exists. So please stay out of that venue. You guys will get to see soon enough how the chief judge functions. It's going to be a very fun time for me and for the world to learn. And these are things that should have been taught in our business law classes or our government, our social, what they call social studies classes as we come up through. I don't even know if they even offer social studies anymore, or business ethics. It seems so, business law seems such like a lost art because nobody comprehends the timelines and how these contracts work. And so because of time and or how time and space, time is no longer and there's just space. Because with one hand on the sea, 1 foot on the land and 1 foot hand in the sea, I have balanced that. It's a postal situation, and I disqualify the world postal system on a global level, disqualifying the sea lanes in and out of all countries. This is what gives me the authorizations to control their militaries, because before one goes into the military, you go into the post office first. In each country, I disqualify that country's ability to send troops into the field, which means there will be no more wars. And so now we can start building, not damaging. Thank you guys for watching Last Flag Standing. I hope that there is a foundation for the things that you will see me doing. And I hope that if you have, I will hear your needs by how you conduct yourselves and how you support what I'm doing. There are many trials and tribulations that have to be looked at. Unfortunately, education is different in different locations. I'm sorry for that for right now for most of the general public. You've been forced into this situation where you've had to learn these new concepts that you've never heard of, right? You've never heard of martial law. You've never seen all the oppression that's come on a worldwide level, and all everybody's pointing fingers. Don't point fingers at anyone else. Point fingers at yourself. Take accountability for yourself. It's not about pointing fingers at China or at Russia or at Venezuela or whoever. It's about taking accountability for ourselves and building our neighborhoods up, building our communities up, building our friends up, supporting our local businesses and our local economies. So these are concepts that in the very near future I'm going to be putting on more of these presentations, and you're going to be able to see a lot more about the work that has been done and the foundation that it's laid for the quantum banking system. Thank you very much, and thank you, citizens of the world. Keep studying, and thank you for your support.